This conference will now be recorded.
All righty, start the Audit and Finance Committee meeting of July 13th. Skip the chairman's comments and go right to the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No question.
All right, need a motion for approval?
I'll so move.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Payment of the bills. You'll see that most of the bills are normal operating expenses on a monthly basis. There is one bill, $12,250. That's consulting services for the Richfield Springs project for Capital Energy Partners, which, as we were previously discussing, was approved by the board for expenditure. The rest are pretty standard, as I said, operating expenses. Any questions or comments? If not, I guess we look for a motion for approval of the expenses. So moved. Thank you. That's second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You also have the deposits made for the month, which shows, don't steal your thunder. Talk about the first thing.
Oh. We received our first payment from Woodville's Performing Arts.
Oh,
I see it. It'll come back. They can still see it.
okay. So good. We got one payment and 374 more to go. No, that's good. Keep it.
Well, at least they.
It is moving, it's positive movement.
Yeah, they acknowledge that they owe us money.
Any other commentary about other, like I noticed, I mean, we're late on rents, right? Are there other rental payments? Are we late in the month, early in the month? Somebody paid twice, or am I missing something?
We don't have access rent for July and June. Yeah, they're a month behind. They said they had an issue with their bank. Which seems, okay.
I get no money in it.
Yeah,
Their
that's
bank
right.
account is wrong, but I'm not sure. So,
Anything else?
um,
Did the,
Megan is negotiating for a new tenant.
I am, James Stevenson is out, as you might know, might not know. So I am negotiating with someone else who called me yesterday looking for office space out of Cooperstown. Maybe get that in, and then we don't have Bird Truck anymore. They are still paying their rent. I shouldn't say that. So technically they're still a tenant until we find a new.
and do we have, they haven't paid the rent though?
They have paid, not July.
Do we have an update on that? Or is that going, or is that going to projects?
Or do you?
Or we could actually take it in executive session. I don't know which one you want.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, and then you do have some financial statements that have been included in the package along with the comparative information to budget. Joe, do you have anything you'd like to address specifically?
Not specifically on the budget. I mean, we're in good financial shape right now. We still haven't yet drawn down for the Capital Resource Corporation, so that'll add additional funds into it. And we do close on the hotel, that'll come in another $205,000.
Yeah, that's scheduled for August. Right?
Yeah.
Any questions on the financials? No? Okay. New and unfinished business, I think we touched on. Is there anything in addition you'd like to talk about there?
No, I did, and I'll bring it up probably a project as well, but I did go before the county in the IGA committee meeting on Tuesday. Again, we requested, as we did last year, an additional $200,000 on top of $75,000. And they said they'll discuss it in August.
Andrew was jumping in with.
Yeah. Okay, so that's, again, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay, Projects Committee. I told all my girls before, so no comments. Approval of our June 8th committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thank you, Jody. Give us an update. The stuff that's changed probably.
Okay, on the quick update, I've been swamped with work, and so as opposed to giving you the, I decided to wait until next month, to update. The big movements have been in Richfield Springs. EDA did approve us to go ahead and hire engineering as construction manager. We signed contracts with them on Tuesday as well. With an understanding that if the project doesn't go through, we can terminate the contract immediately. But I need them to start putting together the construction contracts with Angel Construction. They did start on Tuesday reviewing all documentation on the project. The town did pass a resolution agreeing to become a co-applicant. New York State DEC and engineering met on site and reviewed the methodology for developing the new wetland delineation. They made a minor change that doesn't affect our project, and we sent them the revised delineation last week. And we did request Keystone to take an overlay of the current site plan and put it onto the wetland delineation map to show that the wetlands aren't being impacted. Systematic power systems, IOXIS.
Let me just ask a question.
Yeah.
The ownership issue, have we resolved that through the village, town, attorney, whatever is going on up there?
What has been proposed is that the town agreed that they would own the site, but they want the IDA to be on the hook with any future tenants for any repairs that need to be made to the pipes.
From beginning to end, or are they talking just on industrial site itself?
From beginning to end. The resolution that they passed is resolved that this board is willing to join an application to the U.S. Department of U.S. Economic Development Organization for grant funding to be applied toward the project of water sewer, blah, blah, blah. Resolved that this board is willing to accept ownership of the water sewer and road infrastructure proposed to support the Otsego County IDA Business Park in the town of Richfield, subject to the acceptable terms and conditions, including, among other things, an agreement with the property owner that all unaided current or future costs related to such improvements be borne by the IDA or the future owners of the benefited property.
Yeah, so I read that not in terms of something goes wrong, but if enhancements are needed or additional work is needed to support tenant. That's how I read it.
That's how I read it now that
So it's just clarification. I think my gut is we can move forward, but I think we do need to continue to get clarification ultimately. I think,
yeah, the term improvements,
right.
that doesn't say repair.
And the village has already they've already passed a resolution, correct, and have accepted ownership of maintenance of those lines,
The maintenance of the lines are to be borne by
the village. So they've already accepted that.
So
So the improvements to me means that we sell.
why don't we be more clear?
Yeah, I think this was essentially to get them
Yeah, I get
to approve the co-application. And I think the next stage is we have to define those agreeable terms and conditions. Yes, yeah.
It's,
semantic.
we sell a piece of property, somebody is willing to build, we extend the
Correct.
lines to that piece of property.
Or the tenant that goes in requires more than what current available.
But that's progress.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Jody.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously I wasn't involved in the board meeting, but the prior discussions with the town attorney and his main concern was the town was going to get stuck with any future repairs. So, I mean, I think would interpret that differently than what you just did. they don't want to pay for anything going down the road. Now that may have changed. I mean, like I said, not privy to whatever happened in the last 10 days or 2 weeks or something between them and the board, their board, but that's my interpretation.
Yeah, and I would say my interpretation is that those agreement, the terms and agreements still have to be made. They're agreeing, this resolution is to agree to be the co-applicant, is what this resolution really is for. The terms and conditions in terms of ownership is yet to be established, essentially is how I read that.
You know.
Because they,
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I mean, the last line is they're putting out one piece that they're saying is likely a term that they're going to want, but it says as agreed upon.
So when does it get clarified?
That's,
On receiving?
I mean, I think that we have to decide, and Jody and I
Does
talked
this hold us?
last week, yeah, at what point, because once we've built it,
No.
there's less negotiating power, right, around what ultimately is gonna happen.
It seems simple. You take out all unneeded current or future costs related to such improvements and say, what do you mean?
Yes, I think that's kind of what was the intent, and I don't know if you want to get Kurt involved in that, or what's that line, and what's the
Because
intent
I
of
don't
that line?
understand why the village sewer district doesn't own it. That's probably what happens to any other extremities that go from the village to the town. Because the village has the income from it, the village should go up in the maintenance.
Whoever has the revenue stream
That's
gets to take
normal.
care of it.
They've given a hard no on it.
They're billing.
Does that mean the IDA gets the tax revenue for this property?
No, that was the other conversation.
One other quick question, you know, the answer to this, there was, I think it was Larry mentioned that their attorney, who's an idiot, by the way, suggested that they have to have their own construction management on that project. Do we know, you know, and as you well know, from the Hunt contract, that's an expense to the town, village, whoever.
Yeah, but I think the bottom line is what's coming down to is why they're feeling that way, is that if they're ultimately gonna have ownership and they're gonna be responsible for if something goes wrong, then they feel like they should be more involved in the construction side of things, right? I think it's the lawyer being kind of overly conservative in terms of protecting the town. I think it's, in the end, you know, Jody, you're talking about on the contract, you're getting a 2-year warranty on the work. I think we have to discuss kind of from our position, ultimately, we might be fighting over really something that's nothing in the end. It's laying down pipe, what could go wrong type of a deal, what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario?
Cross the street.
What are we on, but that would be under the 2-year, right, the 2-year window for the, so.
So we can.
And then, but West Street might be like, if the construction plans didn't account for something,
Moving forward.
that would go back on us, because they're not involved on the construction plans, and I think that's what they're worried about, right?
Language as it is.
No, we're going to get clarification.
Well, we're moving forward with the application.
There was a comment made by somebody, and I don't know if it was one of the state agencies, about this 20-year concern about 30 years, that, you know, at 20 years, there could be serious problems. And I'm like, there would be serious problems with the materials for like 75 years. That's the joke. So that's all I have to say, moving forward.
The only thing that can probably, will break before 30 years is probably the water pump. And that's like $4,000 replacement item. It's not a big ticket.
According to their note, then it won't be.
It won't be, well,
Forever.
yeah, I think so. There was, yes, a lot of conversation around that. I think ultimately as an IDA, like if this has become a stopping point and the risk really being relatively minimal in terms of what our expenditures might be, are we willing to move forward? Are we not willing to move forward?
Yes.
You know,
Willing.
Okay, moving on. First drawdown request for Ioxis. We received on the scene, received $172,000 in reimbursement for part of their expenses. That's roughly 40% of their expenses that they paid.
great.
Reimbursed who? What's our rent?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you know, right?
It shows they paid in June though.
That's the bank.
What's the bank?
Yeah, it's on the line for June.
And that's what we had, except for an item that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that accurate?
You did have in your package, part of.
I'll show you.
Yep.
Budget.
Cheryl had asked me to put together a breakdown of jobs and investment. That was done.
Yeah.
We presented this at the county IGA committee. It's been about $91 million or $18 million a year. And again, when you use the investment multiplier for this projects, it's $250 million over 5 years, so roughly $50 million of private investment every year.
Can we say like it's 25 million a year? I know people go like say it's 250 over 10, so you have a bigger number.
You can do that. But I did the projects that we were, they can't predict the future projects.
Like I said, I have a good report. We're doing a good job. We have reason to go into executive session.
Yes, because.
Do we have any update on the innovation center?
Oh,
Here I am.
Yeah. The charter's in there. So.
Yeah. So, I'll start out with giving, an overview, kind of like what we talked about before of, the actual specifics of who's providing what. So our partner, Small Business Development Center, is working on very closely with a business plan on someone who is in here almost weekly. So he's very, very excited. And I need to say that he will tell you that when he met with Gina in March, out of that meeting, he was inspired. And so he has come great leaps and bounds in being committed to moving forward into this next phase of his life because of that conversation. So I'm not sure how you put a value on that, but I think it's a significant, intangible. And he read about the Innovation Acceleration Center, so that was probably like an article of public relations connection. Custom Electronics partner, they are giving manufacturing technical assistant to a participant in our center, helping them fine tune a design for when their sales meet a new milestone and they need to move into partner with Custom Electronics to do small volume. So to increase those sales and get things elevated for that manufacturer, Victoria and I have been working very diligently. So I'll actually pass that on to you right now to speak about what we've been doing with our manufacturer.
So we've been working a lot with developing a MailChimp to send out to all of these different organizations and shared kitchens, that kind of thing. And then we're gonna work on a distillery list. So it's just been a lot of getting that ready, sending out testers. And then we just sent out the first batch of just 30 yesterday. And then we're gonna try and get more sent out today once the list gets a little bit bigger.
Are you defining the area that you're sending it to? Like how wide of a swath? Not far.
So right now it's primarily in the Northeast area because we have a lot from New York, but then it also includes Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New Jersey areas. So, and I think there's a couple from Canada too, just that reach that border area.
By working with Victoria and I, the owners have really, I think, raised their level of confidence and their intensity of thinking about who their target audiences are and how to hone in their messaging and their, visibility, how to take their sell sheets that they created on their own and are very complete, how to take those and make them less technical and more, like let's wrap that person to want to read the tech sheet. So we've generated probably 4 or 5 different target audiences. And the one audience we originally was going to hit with our MailChimp, they have, because of how we developed the content visually and graphically for the MailChimp, they said, you know what, I think I want to make individual calls to the label companies is what we were going to target with the MailChimp. But now here they are confident, they're like calling up and saying, hey, we got this machine that could be useful to the people that are buying your labels that you're printing for them. Is this, are you interested in being a part of the sales network? Because they're willing to cooperate with, a commission type of basis with label companies. And so it's, it's really raised their own profile of selling themselves too. So I think we've assisted them on several different layers there. So, and if you guys don't mind, we'll send you the MailChimp so you can see the GIF that Victoria created that shows this label machine in action. I think it's pretty amazing. She wants to, I need her to show me how she made that GIF so that I can capture that talent. But, her talents have been very, very useful and inspiring. That's the word of my word of the day, I guess. And so then our partners, IAXIS and Oneonta, we are working with them to develop the business equipment and service database. And also they are going to be doing a business plan competition. I believe it's scheduled for the fall, so we'll get deeper into promoting that and, tying in the small business centers contacts so that they know about that competition. So we'll really be gelling all of our webbing. So operationally with the Innovation Acceleration Center, I've been networking, had some phenomenal field trips in June to 2 different conferences, updating Otsego Now website, and working with Megan and Nassim to get the promotion out for the micro enterprise. And that has also, again, another PR gave us another interest from a manufacturer in the county saying, hey, I'm in this tight spot, we need this, this, and this, and how can we help? So that introduction assessment is underway, and I'm sure more specifics of how our assistance is meeting their needs will come to surface. And so Jody has given me access to the presentation that he presented to the AGA. Is that right? IGA board. And so I'm working on setting up the beginnings of a template of an Otsego Now PowerPoint presentation and taking all of the information Jody puts on the slide and making it a little more visually. It's all there, just gonna present it a little bit differently.
There's more on there because there's a comprehensive, Dilla that I didn't put on.
Right. So, yeah, so just working on the overall presentation and public image.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else before we go into executive session?
Andrew, was Andrew at the IGA meeting?
Yeah, so I was at it. Yeah.
What do you think of the chances of continuing a little increased revenue?
Oh, I think that absolutely. I think that the majority definitely support. I think the discussion we've had is it has to be phased. Jody I mean, it would be great if we could continue to do 275. I think that's the, the goal, but I think it may dip down with kind of a multi-year scaling up, to get to that 275. So, I mean, if I have no idea what the numbers look like, but, if we could be just, let's say at, 175, 200 next year, I mean, anywhere in that range would be a win, I think.
Okay.
It would be double what our, if we could get to 150, it would be a double of what we've received the last couple of years. And I do think that the support is there. And, I think that it's a recognition that it needs to be funding that supports what the IDA priorities are right now, and not to get sucked into other issues such as the airport, which was a recent topic.
I won't let that happen, Andrew.
No worries. So
I think it'd be positive. Say, if we end up with a commitment of, let's say, 5% increase or whatever it is, so that year in, year out, just keep going. That'd be great. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, before we go into executive session, any public comment? Anybody here wants to speak? I see we have some people on. Going once, going twice. Great. Motion going to executive session.
Second.
For the purpose of contract negotiation.
This conference will now be recorded.
She's got it. Okay. No action.
Yeah.
Any other new business, old business, no business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Are we asking the mayor here?
I